Hello and welcome to Top of Mind with Ann and Rachel. My name is Rachel Profitt, and I'm a white woman with long red hair that is pulled back in a low ponytail today. I'm wearing my my rose-colored glasses and a gray sweater today. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm in my office with my epic sticker wall behind me. Ann, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Ann Krupke. I'm a senior product marketing manager at Microsoft. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a white woman with brown and green hair, which is down today. I don't think you can really see the green, but it's slightly green. I'm wearing a red shirt and I am coming at you from my home office.
So, Ann, it's it's been like 2 weeks since we've been on.
Yeah.
What's top of mind?
Well, first, I guess I just realized that there's only probably a couple top of minds where I'm going to be coming from this office because I'm moving to Redmond, which is a really
That's a big deal.
Yeah, I changed I don't know if you guys noticed, but I changed jobs. Um,
You kind of just barely like dropped that like when we were
yeah.
at Summit in Charlotte a few weeks ago, but it wasn't really the topic of discussion. So, how is it? What's it like to be in marketing?
It's very different, but it's awesome. I had a lot of people ask me about it at Summit, just kind of like, "Oh, like was that on purpose?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think the way I look at it is one of the things I've always loved to do is take difficult concepts and explain them easily. And I think
Mhm.
marketing at its core really is just being able to understand things and communicate them. And in this case, it's understanding how great Dynamics 365 finance and operations is and communicate that to consumers, people who are trying to figure out if they want to buy our product, analysts who are ranking our products, and internal stakeholders. So if you know me, you know that this is a move that aligns with that thing I love doing. So I think that's like the way I've figured out how to explain the transition the best.
I like that. Um, so you're moving to Redmond,
Hmm.
like after the first of the year at some point,
Yeah,
and you're gonna be like at the mothership. Are
at the
you
mothership.
at the mothership? Are you excited?
I'm very excited. I'm a little nervous, I guess, or I've been in Atlanta for 10 years. So it's odd to move, but I mean, I'm excited. I got a chance to go out there and meet my team, and they're really awesome people. And um, it's like, I don't know, going from the partner channel to Microsoft was a big move, and I feel like this is another one. And it's just kind of a do it and see what happens. It's a
Yeah.
strategy. Yeah.
So, um, I had an exciting moment last week.
Oh, I want to hear about it.
So I had to go to a client site down in Dallas on Thursday, which was cool because like it's since I've been working here, it's really like the first time I've gone to a client site. But for me, it was even more exciting because I got to meet five of my colleagues,
Oh,
including Paul Langowski, who is my skip manager. Which was like after working here for like 3.5 years, it was like
yeah.
super exciting to like meet people that I've been working with for so long. So that
Yeah,
was super
starting at
exciting.
Microsoft as the in the middle of COVID really it was an experience, I'm sure, for both of us.
Yeah. Well, and I think for me, like you were a little bit after me. I literally joined like
Peak COVID.
like 3 weeks after like the COVID lockdown started. Like my interview was technically before COVID, so I was still able to go and travel.
Mhm.
And then like a week before my start date, because I was supposed to go to Redmond, right, for my onboarding, but it was like, nope, we're not doing that. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
so
Times are changing though. Last or 2 weeks ago when we came in live from Summit, I think there were about 4,500 people at that event. So clearly travel is coming back in swing, and I know Directions in
Yeah.
Need is this week as well.
So I feel like there might be some other exciting news.
There is. Actually, this was one of the things that, so in my new role, I still get to work with a lot of what's new and great. And somebody said it really well. I think I'm living like a year in the future. So
Hmm.
when things finally get announced, it's really exciting to talk about them. And one thing that we announced yesterday was our new demand planning functionality for Dynamics 365 supply chain.
It's super cool. I had the opportunity to go to a Let's Learn internally about it, and see demos of it, and it's
Pretty
pretty
flashy.
sexy.
Are we
Yeah,
allowed to say that
flashy,
on air?
sexy, whatever. Like, so do you have like a way that we can show it or talk about it today?
Yeah, I've got a demo. Let's do a walkthrough and just show people what is so exciting about this new tool.
Love it.
Let me figure out. You can see my window, right? Probably I need to add
Um,
it to the stream.
there we go. Now we
Okay,
can see it.
cool. Now let's maximize that for better. Oh, can we get rid of the banner on the top?
Yeah, there we go.
Perfect.
I was trying to find the button to do that.
So this is the new demand planning capabilities in D365 Finance and Operations. You'll notice it's based on a Power Apps interface, but it is part of the SCM app. So much like inventory visibility or global inventory accounting, there are pieces that run on Dataverse, but it has a native connection to the Dynamics F&O platform. So you can install it in your existing environments, but your main interface is in kind of that Power Platform view. Also, fun fact, we have a few videos here that walk you through some of the basics if you want to watch them. And I actually helped record the demos for these
I was
videos.
gonna ask that because I was like, I bet Anne helped with this.
I did the original voiceover too, but I think it was a lot. So um yeah, but you can maybe not this one, but I did some of the demos, which was really fun and a good way to learn the software.
So
There's
is the final voiceover in that, is it like computer generated or was it a human?
I'm pretty sure it was computer generated. There's in Clipchamp, which is also a Microsoft product, there is a text to speech function. So if you're not super confident narrating your own videos, you can actually write the script out, control the speed, the voice, the tone, and get an automatically produced talk track to your videos. Fun fact. So there's a bunch of tutorials and stuff, but I want to show the worksheets because I think this is the cool thing. So we have first we can take data from anywhere. There's a native connector to F&O. So you can connect it to multiple or a single finance and operations instance. And it automatically knows the mapping, so it pulls all that in for you. But you can also just go directly from Excel, CSV, or Azure Data Lake. So one of the historical kind of difficulties with demand forecasting in our old capability set was that if you had a legacy system, so you go live, right? You have no historical data in Dynamics, but when you're doing a forecast, you need to have a lot of historical data to generate the forecast, but it's all in your legacy system. And there is a way to import the data into F&O for the old functionality, but you had to do it every single time you ran forecasting, and you also had to kind of adjust the period set as it was going. But with this, you can actually just dump all of your old historical data into the Azure Data Lake storage and connect that as one of your inputs into the demand planning app.
And that's super cool and powerful, I think. I think the ease at which you can import this data is pretty impressive.
And
Even I
the
can do
exciting
it.
thing is, like, if you're yeah, I know. When I was figuring out how this all worked, it took like 5 minutes and then I was good. I think that's part of the the sell of this is how easy it is to use. And if, for example, if your legacy system data structure and the Dynamics data structure are very different, you can create a transformation. So you can say, I import the data the way it is, I can map it to tables, but then beyond that, I can actually transform it as well. One of the common things that we've been asked in the past is, well, what if, you know, right now forecasting just used the date that I actually shipped the item, but I want the date that the item was requested for because that is a more accurate representation of historical demand. We don't always do the requested date, we do the actual date, but when I'm forecasting, I want to see what they actually requested. And that is something that you can do with these transformation profiles or with the input, the import logic. So you can get your input data looking right to get a more accurate output on the back end.
So the transformations, it's just Power Query, right?
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with it, but this piece specifically, but you can
Yeah.
essentially just do your own power. Basically, it's low code
Yeah.
solution to
It's
doing data
it's
transformations.
yeah, if you've ever used like Power BI and like the Power Query functionality in Power BI to like transform data, it's the same exact thing. So
Okay.
which I guess, right, if you're not familiar with it, the good news is that it's been around. It's not like this is brand new technology. They're just leveraging something that's already been there. And there are tons of resources out there to learn how to use Power Query and all the different types of things that you can do with it. Um, I've used it a few times. I can't claim to be an expert either, but um, a lot of it is visual, but you can do some pretty advanced stuff too if you want to start using like DAX, which is like a language that you can use.
Yeah.
So Anders asked, is it virtual entities, dual write, or something else?
I think in this case, we're talking about the import data. So
So
in
it's neither. It's something else, right?
either, yeah, it's a
Based on this
custom
question.
developed connection tool. Um, so for F&O, we developed a direct connection tool. It I actually don't know what the architecture is between F&O and Dataverse though, if it's using
You,
virtual entities or not to do
I don't think it's using either. I think it's more like a DMF entity, like that's being exported and imported.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so like virtual entities would be like we're just making a connection to that entity real time. It's not until like so, and you haven't kind of gotten to this part,
Yeah, let's
but
if you go in here, or I guess I should have shown an existing one because I don't have a link to do it. But if you look at the configurations of the provider, we have source and target mapping and then synchronization control. And if we edit the mapping, you have an auto map that you can do, which is
mhm.
based on the F&O structure. So this is just for the F&O connector, but you can also look at all the records in the table, all the fields in the table and select them. So if you had a custom field, you could map it instead of the standard field, for example. I was just
Yeah,
thinking maybe they're using, but you can connect it to any instance, not just the instance that's connected via the Power Platform integration. So
exactly. And that's why I'm pretty sure this is
to
not
that point,
virtual
it's got to be
entities.
something
It's
else.
more like a DMF export and import. So um
Okay.
like that's my understanding of it. Because the idea too, like you said, and I think that's important to point out, is you could make,
They have to be on the
yeah,
same
you can
tenant
connect to multiple Dynamics 365 instances.
instances, but they must be on the same
Yeah.
tenant. So if in our words, that would be like our tenant is Microsoft.com, but we could have an EMEA one that's on its own instance and a North America instance, but they're both on the Microsoft tenant, and we could import both of those. Sounds a bit slow to move all that data with O data in real time, but I guess it works for config. So you can use, there is a connector to data lake as well for your legacy data. And actually it's not that slow. Like I've seen, so you can connect to Azure Data Lake Storage now, first of all, but I've also, if you look at the, I can show you the jobs. So this one is the one with all the records. It took about 2 hours to get all 7,000, 8,000 products initially. Right.
Yeah.
So, but again, this is all master data. We're not talking about the time it takes to run the forecast itself. The forecast is going to run a lot faster than the input. And in theory, you're not updating the historical demand every day. You're only updating it as frequently as you're running your forecasts. And if you're running a forecast every day, I'd love to hear your business scenario for why you do that. Marcus says, good to know that it's per tenant. It's one of my big concerns. I'm curious, Marcus, if you can share what the requirement is. Do you have more than one tenant or more than one instance that you're trying to connect together? And I know we're on a bit of a delay, so we'll give him a second. And I can actually show, so the forecast profile is how we calculate the forecast itself, and you can have as many forecast profiles as you want. You can do them, this is where it's really cool. It can just be like using, it's like using Power Platform. If you look at the forecast model, it's like a Power Automate flow. So you have an input or multiple inputs. So for example, you could have your legacy data input and your dynamics data input, or your EMEA input and North America input. And then you put it through the forecast model and you save it. This is a super basic one, but you can add custom steps like outlier removals. You can add additional steps like outlier removal. You can also add custom steps to call out to like a machine learning experiment where you have a lot more, detailed factors for calculation. You can also do, I'm pretty sure there's a way where you can do like a percentage bump or something like that. You can do custom inputs or updates to the inputs. Or I guess you would do transformation and bring it in. So you could transform historical data and then say, multiply it by 20% and have that be like a max forecast or something. So there's a lot more flexibility. So Marcus says, instances in America, EMEA, and Asia pack, but the demand planning needs to be across all. This can be done as long as they're all in the same tenant. That's correct. So same tenant is more like using the same like website as the login, but instance can be completely separate spin-ups of dynamics as long as they're all using the same tenant. So when you think about like, maybe the simple way is if you log into LCS and you have multiple projects in the same LCS instance, then that is the same tenant. Did I explain that right, Rachel?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can do forecasting for all globally for all your instances, even if they're not in the same Dynamics 365 environment.
Yeah. So one thing that like stuck out to me when I like sat through the Let's Learn yesterday that people might be interested in is maybe a couple of the things that are coming in the future. And I think the one that was like super exciting for me was the functionality for like new products. Like, so it's always been a challenge with like our demand planning is like when you get a brand new product and you have no historical sales for that, like how do you forecast that? And so that's something that is on the roadmap and supposed to come before we go GA, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I'm not super sure on timelines for things. I know that The exciting thing is not only do we have a new product, but we have a roadmap. And I know that there are several things that they're continuing to work on. And actually, if you are following super closely, you might have heard that there is a workshop planned in December in Copenhagen that is open to partners and customers of Microsoft to come learn more about the tool, the roadmap, and how to implement it. Yeah. Oh, I see. Honors actually just commented the same thing. There's a 2-day workshop in December, so we can see. I'll dig up the link after we finish the live, and I'll put it in the comments if you're interested in signing up for that. I also want to highlight, I think, my favorite thing about this, which is the worksheets, this is where we go.
Oh,
we're going
yeah.
way beyond what we had right before this in Dynamics, which is this ability to do detailed analysis and review, to dive in at multiple levels. So, and we do that through worksheets, and you can create custom worksheets. Oh, Honors is ahead of us. He put the form link for sign up in the chat. So if you're interested, you can go to the comments. It's on the LinkedIn post, not the YouTube stream, but you can sign up to attend the workshop. So in a workspace, you can add as many time series as you want in here. And we've really only talked about forecast time series, but there's also not just statistical forecasting time series here, but you could do your historical demand, but shift it up a year. So you can use that to compare a forecast to the historical demand. You can do revenue forecasting. Any sort of data that you want in a time series format, you can put this into the demand planning tool, and then you can add them to the same workspace and compare them. You can also do some customization around how you want to see them. Is it a column or a line in the chart? Should we have a secondary axis? So if you have, for example, units of measure of your product on the left side for the y-axis, you can have a secondary y-axis on the right side that's like dollars for your revenue forecast. You can choose the color as well, which who doesn't love being able to make everything purple?
I think too, like one of the cool things that about it is that like you can save different versions of this. So like you can have like what was generated automatically, and then you can modify stuff like down in the grid. And then after you save that new version of it that you've modified, you can actually put your modified version in and compare the original proposal to your modified version as well, which I thought was super cool.
Yeah, and you can actually go back. It's like version history in Excel, PowerPoint, Word. You can go back and see what it was beforehand, right? Click the current version or the previous version. You can track who changed what. And just like in the old app, if I edit the data, it'll save it. Until I save it, I can see all my changes in blue and the impact of those changes spread across.
Yeah.
And it shows up real time in the graph above. So we have the ability to kind of customize how we want to see things here. We can put filters on the data. So you'll notice it's filtered for this year and next year. And then down in the grid, there's even more functionality. So you can see we've got all the values that are shown in the time series above. We have our 2 main forecast dimensions for this case, which is by warehouse and product. And then under data, we can see the values for each of our 3 time series. I can choose to go less granular and just say, I want to see only by product. I don't care about warehouse right now. And if I hit apply, it updates it all in real time, moves it back up to that next level. And these totals are now aggregated. And the really cool thing about this is that if you update something at an aggregated level, the changes are applied proportionally downwards. So if I change, without having the warehouse in, if I change car audio unit 200 to 6,000, when I save it and I add warehouse back in, the warehouses will all be slightly adjusted upwards based on the proportional amount that they represent in this larger number. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is not something we could do before, right? In the old tool, we used to have to, you forecasted at the most specific granularity, and then you rolled up, and you could only edit the forecast on the lowest level of granularity. So this way you can roll it up, edit it, and those changes roll down.
Excuse me.
There's also, this one I think is really cool too. If you edit the grid formatting, so the grid referring to the bottom half of the screen, you can add a rule, for example, like if we have a time series that is the error on my profit forecast, which would be the present forecast error percentage, I can make a rule that's basically like conditional formatting on the values in the grid. So if the error percentage is greater than 10%, I can choose to make them red and then do an exclamation next to it. So I can do that just on the base values. I can do it on a different time series and just say, show me for this one, this conditional formatting. And I can do that for as many as I want. So if I apply that one, I should be able to see some red in here. Yeah, so you can see the forecast values where that statistically generated value has an error percentage of 10% or higher, which can help me also kind of draw my attention to those things where I need to do the exception handling and not have to scrutinize everything one by one. So that's the worksheets, I think, are, to me, one of the biggest factors in actually being able to work with the forecast output to drive down on the granularity that you want to come back up as needed. You'll notice if I select the product, right now I'm looking at a product-specific forecast. If I deselect it, I'm back looking at my aggregated. So I think you can do a lot just from this one page. And that includes chatting with your team. We have the Teams collaboration directly embedded. I don't have a license in my demo account, but you can actually relate. You can start a Teams chat from a forecast, so relevant to a specific forecast, and then add the relevant people to talk through it, whether it's your finance department or your sales people, whatever input you need, like they can come in through Teams and collaborate that way, just kind of like how other Power Apps or Dataverse-based applications can collaborate through Teams. So I'm super excited for this. I think it's amazing. Let us know if you have any more questions in the chat. Or Rachel, did you have any? What was your favorite thing about it?
I like probably the grouping and like being able to like edit and then have it like automatically like allocate like over the grouped values. I was like, that's even better than like doing it in Excel and like trying to drag it down or write a formula.
Right. Because if you have like you could have not just your product variant, but you could have product groups, right? And you could say, I don't want to update every single product. I want to update I want to bump up the whole product group because I know I'm going to do a promotion or something like that. So there's a ton of flexibility with it. The other thing is you can save your own worksheets as views. So if you want to set up 4 or 5 views or worksheets that help you navigate through the data, then it'll let you do that. And then you don't have to spend your time building the same report every time you come back to the save view and already have it the way you want it. Do we have any idea on how this stacks up, for example, against Anaplan? So I don't have like specific insights for Anaplan. I know that it's a best of breed tool. I'll say one place where it's still kind of comparable to what we had previously is in the actual development of a forecast itself. You have 4 options in the forecast model. So you have ARIMA, which we had in the previous model, ETS, which again we had, and then Profitt, which is another forecast model. We didn't have that before, but we have it now. And then you have the option to choose the best fit. You can also do seasonality hints. So we still have the incorporation of seasonality. So I would say in this respect, we are about on par with the model types that were offered previously. But kind of the big difference is that you can do this custom step and call out to Azure Machine Learning if you're trying to do more advanced algorithms or include, right now, including other factors is not supported. So I think in terms of what we're offering, it's super easy to adopt this product, understand how it's what it's doing, and kind of like it definitely beats what we had. In terms of other products, I think it still kind of remains to be seen, and we are very new, so you have to kind of wait as we roll out more support for things like Rachel was saying, like super session or external factors. So that's my super vague marketing answer. We're great, but we still have a ways to go, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we are over time, so it's
Oh,
probably time for us to wrap up
it's
and
very
say goodbye.
easy,
Thanks
yeah, to
everybody
get
for joining us.
excited.
I know it was such a good
They can
conversation.
just go on and on and on. So thank you, Anne, for like hopping on and doing an ad hoc demo of that. That was awesome. And thank you everyone for joining
It
us,
was fun.
who joined live, and all the fantastic questions. And for those that are watching the recording, continue to put your questions in the comments, and we'll try to get them answered. And we'll see you next time on Top of Mind with Anne and Rachel. Bye, everyone.